Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I'm Sujit John. I have with me my colleague Akhil George. The two of us will moderate this discussion that we are having in partnership with Merkle, a Dentsu company that offers consulting services to help you reimagine customer experiences through technology. Today, we're going to discuss the potential that real-time data and AI, Gen AI in particular, have in improving and reimagining customer experience in the global and Indian scenario. In retail, for instance, there are very interesting problems that AI can solve really well, like where should stores be located, which items should be kept next to one another to make it most convenient for customers. Gen AI has brought a creative dimension to all this. This is particularly exciting. These new possibilities also have important implications for skills. To discuss all of this, we have three leading analytics and CX professionals with diverse experiences and expertise in leveraging AI for businesses. We have with us Vineet Mehta. Vineet is General Manager of Enterprise Technology for Kmart and Target Australia and site leader for the group's Global Capability Center, ANKO GCC at Bangalore. He has been with the business since June 2019 and is responsible for spearheading work on enterprise technology, data, and analytics. Kmart and Target are Australia's largest retailers. They operate over 500 stores across Australia and New Zealand and have revenue amounting to 9 billion Australian dollars. Vineet has over 24 years of professional experience. Prior to Kmart and Target, he also worked with L Brands and Thomson Reuters. Welcome, Vineet.
We also have Sunil Rao. Sunil is EVP and Head of Analytics for the Americas at Merkle. He's been with Merkle for over 16 years and has lots of experience in advanced analytics, marketing technologies, and CRM. He's an expert in digital data, audience platforms, and leverages his deep expertise in quantitative methods to apply them in today's digital world. He has led analytics engagements across industry verticals for a variety of clients, including AT&T, Universal Orlando, Citizens Bank, American Express, Abercrombie and Fitch, Sony, Aviva Insurance, and many others. Welcome, Sunil.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Navin Dhananjaya. Navin is Chief Solutions Officer at Merkle. He has over 27 years experience building and running large-scale data, analytics, and technology operations for Fortune 1000 companies. He was a co-founder at Manthan, which is now Algonomy. He's also worked at Infosys, Mu Sigma, and Ugam Solutions. At Merkle, Navin played a pivotal role in conceptualizing and building cognitive learning platforms, including supporting the development of Merkle AIinCX, a unique offering that uses the power of generative AI to deliver more impactful customer experiences. Welcome, Navin.
Thank you.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions to the Facebook comment box, Sujit and I will put them to Vineet, Sunil, and Navin. So why don't we jump in? There's a lot of focus right now on AI and Gen AI. Vineet, maybe you can help us. Is generative AI the real game changer in customer experience, or are we witnessing another hype cycle? How does the global outlook compare with the Indian scenario?
Akhil, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thanks for being here. Akhil, I think a great question to kind of start us off. We all have kind of burnt our hands or experienced hype cycles with certain technologies from time to time. Honestly, from my perspective, it is early days and only time will tell on the extent of impact of AI. But I personally think there is good early evidence and results that AI will further advance and improve customer experience. It will help enterprises to improve their product design and manufacturing, run efficient supply chains and operations, thereby reducing cost of doing business. The other reason I believe that it will have material impact and it's not just a hype cycle is because I feel it's an add-on capability to existing set of strong analytical and digital capabilities like 3D, data, machine learning, cloud, etc. So I think we need to think of it as an extra turbo mode on your engine. And in my opinion, the whole is kind of greater than the sum of its parts. So that's where I think the AI, it's just not a hype cycle, but has potential to make deep impacts. I am personally very bullish or optimistic on AI and see it more than just the hype cycle. One has to be careful though in focusing on the right use cases and not using a kind of a spray and pray approach from my perspective.
I'll ask you about some of the specific things that you are doing later. But Vineet, do you see any difference at all between India and what's happening around the world? It's all the same.
Not really. I think one I've always found being in retail for the last 14 years that the customer in India is fairly more mature and advanced in terms of leveraging technology, probably just like the US and China and some of the Asian markets. So I do not see any difference. In fact, I feel a lot of the retailers and online retailers in India are quite ahead of the game in terms of how they've in the past leveraged analytics and how they're exploring AI and Gen AI to even improve customer experience. And then Sujit, I think I'm preaching to the choir. India has always been a hotbed of talent for analytics and AI. So I think that's where India is also leading the game in terms of just the thought leadership and the talent and capability that companies like Merkle and the GCCs have built or are building through in AI.
Okay. Sunil, can you share some real life applications where Gen AI has significantly enhanced customer experience?
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me and representing Merkle in the webinar. So when we think about Gen AI applications, we think about it across the spectrum of applications that are either supporting optimization of internal situations or scenarios, or are customer facing and are more disruptive in the experience that they are trying to deliver. So it's a little bit of a 2x2 matrix that we look at the use cases and applications. And I wanted to call out maybe 3 different real life applications that we have deployed recently with clients that illustrate some of the different use cases that this technology can be used for. So the first one is some work that we have done with a streaming platform. It's a company that provides streaming services. And one of the use cases they had was they wanted to improve the level of personalization when it came to the ads that were being shown, as well as the content that was being recommended to the users. And so typically in the past, when this problem has surfaced, what we have done is we've used some of the genre related to the shows to be able to match up the users that might be interested in it, right? So if you've watched comedy before, then that is what's recommended to you. And then those are the types of ads that also show up while watching the show. But with the power of generative AI, we've taken a different approach here, where we've started to leverage a lot of unstructured data, like video data, and start to mine that data using Gen AI to be able to start to understand more granular themes and tones across each episode, across a season, to be able to start to understand, like, at minute 8 minutes and 20 seconds in this episode, the theme of that episode is related to sibling rivalry, or the theme of that episode is related to an inspirational moment. So then how can we use that to then tie the customer propensity, what the customer actually wants, and the right advertisements that might be relevant to them in that moment, and bring those in. And that has proven extremely successful, where we're not only seeing improvements in performance of those ads in terms of the lift. We're seeing 21% improvement in one case where we deployed it, but we're also seeing improvement in customer satisfaction, because the ads don't seem intrusive, because they are matched a little bit more better to the content they're watching, but also their preferences. So that's one example of how the customer experience has changed using generative AI, because in the past we were not able to mine this vast quantities of data, especially video data and others, to produce these types of things. The second example is really around an aircraft client that we work with. So SatAir is a subsidiary of Airbus. And they're in the business of supplying parts to different aircraft manufacturers. And it's a really complex business, because these aircraft packs are one, there are millions of them that go into a plane. And second, there's a lot of complexity into what goes with what. And so in the past, when people were ordering these things, it was a very cumbersome web experience where they had to go through it and configure different things, and it would take a lot of time. And the cost of having a plane grounded is roughly $500,000 a day. And so there is not really a chance to kind of have that situation happen. So we work with Satire to be able to design a new web experience where we're using an AI-powered assistant now. And that assistant is enabling our clients to understand what their requests are, right? And then make recommendations on what are the sets of parts that they should be actually ordering, what goes together, what is a conflict, what might work, what might not work. And that has reduced the time it takes for our clients to use the platform and get their orders very significantly. And it has also reduced the number of FTEs, or the people that are from a customer service perspective that were involved on the Satire side to support this business. And it has literally hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of better average order values that have been generated. And so that web experience now has completely changed, right? You're no longer going to a website to search for things. You're actually meeting an assistant that's helping you. And then the last one is similar to the one that I went through, but more on the internal side in some cases, right? Where we've developed a product called AIinCX, which you had mentioned in the introduction as well, in partnership with our teams in India and Navin. And the goal with AIinCX is to be able to drive insights much faster for our clients through the use of conversational approaches on your data. So in the past or currently, people have dashboards where they look at the dashboard, they'll see certain trends, and they will then have further questions on why did our search volume go down, or why did our traffic go down, or conversion rate go down. But now with AIinCX, you have the ability to ask those questions in a natural language way with the data and get the answers immediately, right? So instead of going and having an analyst go back and compute that, you now have a way to interact with the data, which is completely different. And again, it improves the efficiency of the entire organization. So hopefully that illustrates the various ways in which we're applying Gen AI to different.
What was this third organization?
So third is we're using it internally for our own purposes, as well as for clients. So there are a couple of retail clients that are using it. And again, their analysts are using it to be able to answer questions that they get from their executives every day on, the executive might see a dashboard and be like, hey, why did my volume of sales go down? And like, instead of doing the analysis now, you can
ask the question. Okay. In the recommendation one, I mean, you have streaming platforms in the US which show ads, is it? Here, generally ads on, I thought you subscribe and there are no ads, but there are.
Yes, so there are three tiers. You can subscribe and pay a fee where you don't get ads. Okay. And then there is a quote unquote freemium tier where you watch a few ads, but you don't have to.
Okay. And recommendations, customer recommendations, what is the trick there? I mean, if I'm watching comedy, yeah, you're right. I mean, they tend to recommend more comedies and all that. But now what are you doing?
So again, we're going the next level deeper in terms of analyzing not just the show you watched, but what are the themes and tones underneath that show, which are actually constituting that show. And so the recommendations then when it comes out are much more deeper than just a genre-based recommendation, because like two comedies might still have a lot of differences in the type of comedy, in the type of situations that are as part of that show. And so now we're able to go like really granular when it comes to decomposing that video episode and that content.
No, that's interesting. I mean, I always wondered. I mean, yeah, I mean, normally they tend to show the same kind of genre and all that. So I've always wondered why. I mean, how would they be able to do something else different, which I may actually want to watch? But has that streaming platforms begun to see results?
Yes. So on the ad side, like I mentioned, we're seeing significant improvement in performance of some of these ads. And then in terms of the content recommendation side, like again, engagement levels is how we're measuring it. Like how often do people come back and watch what we have recommended to them? And those engagement levels have also seen improvements post implementation of this.
Any metric you can provide on that? On the
Yeah, so on the ad improvement, like I mentioned, it's like in one case we had a 21% improvement in performance of an ad. So it's pretty much like a very standard kind of test that we would run to see the old approach versus the new approach. And then in terms of the engagement rates, we're seeing a 45% improvement in engagement rates by making these new recommendations over email, but also in the platform user interface itself.
That's very significant.
Yeah.
Akhil?
1 second.
Maybe we can, Navin, yeah, why don't you, I mean, similar things. I mean, what kind of trends do you foresee in the application of AI, Gen AI, especially in the context of the Indian market?
No, thanks, Sujit. And I'll just build on, I think Sunil and Vineet have already spoken a lot. So I'll just build on what he said on the Indian context, especially with related to bot and things like that. And I think the opportunity even in India is to see or study the customer journey and make some of these applications more relevant. In the sense like, even if you've seen in the US, Instacart has come up with this recipes that they suggest based on what products are there in your specific basket. So you may have bought a basket, I may have bought a basket of products. They'll, instead of providing some intelligence based on their bot on pricing and some other opportunities, they have gone ahead and suggested a recipe of what you can do with the product. So that's a very innovative way of looking at how you can engage customers. So that's one thing. Even in India, like, you know, if you look at some of the bots, building on what Sunil said, in Myntra and things like that, if you look at a Myntra fashion bot and ask it a question saying that I want to buy something for a party tonight, it gives you very contextual, an Indian night out kind of assortment of clothes and attires that you can take on based on whether it is a cultural thing or whether it is outdoor activity or something like that. And to add to that, in fact, as I was preparing for this, you know, I mean, things are changing so rapidly. Like just in the last 24 hours, OpenAI has released what is called as O1 model. It has the ability to think. When I say ability to think, it has this, it is based on a chain of thought algorithm to answer complex problems. So complexity is defined based on, like, just in the Myntra example, if I were to further enhance that, based on where I am or what my diaspora is, it will suggest me an option based on what it has thought about who's asking the question and from where. So that is the awareness that the algorithm already has. And that has the ability to kind of give even more personalized solutions. And India has this typical ability to, I would say, I would take three themes of what you can do. One is the use case thing, one is the people thing, and one is how you can scale. But India has this ability to jump curves, like just like they did for mobile adoption. Mobile adoption was very dry in the initial phases, but then everybody has a mobile, and a lot of things are getting done using mobiles, right? So that's one. Based on that, if I were to look at what O1 models can do, I think there is ability to create extremely specific context cases for all of these digital retailers and for their clients or for their businesses. Then there is ability to train, and just based on, there are so many people in India that are AI aware at least, and that increases the ability to train in India for Indian context, and not just Indian context, a whole bunch of these services companies that are there in India for their context, for their clients and their use cases. I think a lot of impact can be done at scale. The other thing is, as we are evolving in this, there are a whole bunch of what I would say as jobs that are getting created. When I say jobs that are getting created, like you wouldn't have heard of a prompt engineer about 6 months or a year back. There is a AI validator. There are red teaming applications where you're trying to break AI algorithms and see and make it more stronger and things like that. So I think all of those will become, in fact, more relevant and more in the role titles as we see going forward. You would see people hiring very specifically for those titles. And the other interesting thing in that Indian diaspora is that I know I talked about O1 models in the context to reason, etc. But many Indians are coming up with more country regional specific models. I mean, you've read about Ola and Crotrim, and some of those large language models can be very, very contextualized to the Indian market per se. So that's the three themes that I would talk about.
These Instamart ones and all that, what kind of we try to measure the engagement levels, Instamart and the other one, Myntra you mentioned. Any engagement metrics and all that you've got yet? You're working with them.
We've not, it's not a case that we've done. I was talking about the application in this case. Most of our clients are mostly US, but in the context of measurement, I think in any AI evolution, I think a lot of this works on the large language models and the information that it retrieves. So there are methods and metrics evolving in the context of how you can measure the particular retrieval method. So is it retrieving what you are asking for? So if I'm asking for a shirt, is it retrieving a shirt? And that can be, in simple terms, can be done by some similar comparisons. Like there are methods like cosine similarity and things like that. I'm just taking one example to simplify what I'm saying. So any complex search and the result of that query, how similar is the result to what query you've asked? So that's one area, and that will continue to evolve. And more importantly, I think I've spoken about this before as well in other forums, that any such evolution will have a human augmentation to deal with. So your models can only be accurate to an X degree, and as long as you have services coupled with human intervention that make the model better and finally more accurate, I think that will go a long way in improving the model and improving the use case for the end customer.
Navin, have you started experimenting with the new model, the GPT-01? I know it's just released.
No, it is less than 12 hours at office since the model is released. So I filed my first query and it just gives an accurate answer. That's all I can say.
So you have access to it.
One query. So no, we work with so in a data and analytics company like ours, what I told you was from my mobile, but we have a larger, more I would say curated guardrail based application access to AI and AI building environments. And that's important because we are a data and analytics company. And if we don't do that, I mean, it very easily, a lot of our deliverables can go for a toss. And to what Sunil said, we do a lot of recommendations to many Fortune 1000 clients, and we want to have the necessary guardrails. Otherwise, like even a prompt, right? We are talking about a prompt, but we've had cases where a prompts can be re-engineered to find out what the context of a prompt is. So if I've already trained a prompt and I don't want, ideally it should not be visible to the context in terms of some privacy related things of what the context is for. So if I can like really hack a prompt, then the guardrails are very easily destroyed. So we need to make it very specific one. And more importantly, and I'll talk about it later probably, but there's also this context of legal. I mean, without validation from legal, it will be very difficult for us to deliver some of these generative AI-based recommendations to our clients.
What is what, Akhil, you were talking yesterday, you were saying something about strawberry or something. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's what this is. It just got released.
Okay. Okay. Go on, Akhil.
Vineet, maybe you can give us an idea of what way GenAI has transformed retail, particularly in terms of cost reductions, any efficiency gains. If you have any specific examples, that would be useful.
Vineet, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, guys, just realized I was on mute. No, I was just saying, I think, Navin and Sunil covered some of those examples, whether it's Myntra or Instamart or even customer engagement models. I think, again, Akhil, very, very good question, because I think there's a big focus currently for all retailers across the world, given the macroeconomic headwinds on just cost reduction and productivity improvements, right? So what we're observing is labor is becoming significantly expensive, productivity is a big challenge, and then margins are under significant pressure in retail. Now, most retailers, and we included, are, in my in my personal opinion, are still at a very nascent and early stages of kind of leveraging AI to combat these challenges. But some of the examples where we've started to play around and look at leveraging AI, and I keep saying this as a bolt-on to our existing capabilities, because I think the power is in the whole, and not just in AI as a standalone. Are, I think, one of the big areas where we've looked at is AI supported customer service, right? So we're looking to leverage intelligent chatbots to provide multilingual customer support. What it provides is basically us, one, the customer gets a better engagement, at any point in time, but it also helps us reduces the cost of servicing for us from a cost reduction perspective. We're also looking at improving product design and increasing efficiencies of design iterations and reducing cost in design. Again, coupled with a very strong 3D design or PLM kind of technologies within the retail space.
For you, the product is what?
A product could be a T-shirt. It could be.
Okay. You have your own private labels and all that, is it?
Yeah. So we have our own private label called ANKO. And in fact, 90% of the products that we sell at Kmart are actually our own ANKO product labels. So we our unique USP is also we've got a very strong capability in product design and manufacturing. So hence this is a critical capability, and we're looking at leveraging 3D and AI to even keep getting better at how we design, how quickly can we design, and at what cost can we design better products for the customer, right? Then I think Sunil covered a lot, but I think just content generation for online channels, digital marketing. I think most retailers are trying to leverage Gen AI, to whether it's to generate descriptions of your products, or customize them based on the customer personalization based on the customer's preferences. Right, then I think all digital marketing, and I think Sunil spoke about how they're seeing an uplift in engagement and content consumption, from a retail perspective. We've also looked at combating a big retail problem around shrinkage or theft, right? So we are trying to couple that with strong imaging capabilities from a theft perspective, and then using AI to detect anomalies and situations where we are seeing shrinkage. We've also deployed.
That's a real time or.
Yeah, it's real time. It works on different algorithms from units to weights to imaging what it sees. Right. Of course, I think Navin was highlighting we're very conscious about what's ethically allowed and within the legal framework has to be done from a privacy perspective, right? We've also looked at, I think, so we've got now robots that run in our Kmart stores that actually capture inventory, from an inventory perspective, which improves availability and experience for the customer. We're looking at coding tools like GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Copilot to improve productivity within the organization, and again reduce cost of doing business. We're also thinking of how can we leverage AI from a planogram perspective. Again, basically how do you design shelves and what you put on those shelves and adjacency. Again, very strong. You need very strong 3D, and then coupled that with AI capabilities, Gen AI capabilities. Those are some of the I think use cases very pertinent to retail. But personally, as a consumer, Akhil and Sujit, I feel the whole world and every product around is changing. You look at connected cars, you look at the cameras, security cameras in your house, and how intelligent they're becoming in detecting anomalies or recommending things to you. I think there was again, Sunil gave an example of recipes. I think so. You're seeing all your products actually change. The phone itself that we use has much more capability. I don't know if you've tried a search of late. It gives you an AI response first before it gives you the usual old response, right? So any consumer product, I think, is going significant thought process around how AI can be embedded to improve the product and the interaction the consumer has with the product.
You must have been using AI. I mean, did Gen AI, when ChatGPT came in, did that make a huge difference to what AI enabled for you? I'm sure you must have been trying out AI even before that. But was this a huge step jump in some sense?
I think we've used ChatGPT kind of model, especially in the customer service space. So I think that did, improve our ability to, basically provide customer service using chats or chatbot kind of mechanism, right? So we've seen 30% of our calls that would have to be answered by agents are now being handled by AI enabled chatbots, which may extremely improve customer service. If our accuracy is pretty high, so the customer is able to track its order, cancel its order, just using a chatbot versus waiting, horrible long wait times for customer agents. I'm sure we've all experienced it, right? So that's where I think the customer experience improves, and then the cost of doing business significantly reduces for a retailer or even banks, right?
A lot of the other examples you gave are based on kind of traditional AI, is it?
I think some of them are again content, right? So they are like product descriptions are early,
right.
yeah. Then even the design, you could change the color on a fly and see, right? So that's where the 3D capability that product lifecycle management tools have, and coupled with AI gives you a very strong platform to do designing.
Yeah. Navin, I think you said you'll talk about the impact on customer trust and data privacy. I mean, with Gen AI coming in, I think these are becoming big issues, right?
No, right. I think, for example, if I were to just as you were typing, I can just make AI listen to it and read out the answer to you. So that's one way of answering what you just asked. And that is where that trust and privacy comes into the picture. And I've seen, recently, there's some reels about people attending interviews, people doing a bunch of things using AI. So though that's the extreme part of it, right? So from a business perspective, like I said before, we definitely need some quantifiable measures, which is in the form of some kind of metrics, which is becoming a broader governance anyway for a lot of our clients. And a lot of these metrics is associated with observability. A lot of metrics is associated with bias. And in terms of bias, it can be as simple as if you take a privileged class and a non-privileged class, if you just treat the LLMs with one kind of data, it will obviously come biased to the other set of intelligence, and that is typically not okay. And that's where ethical AI comes into the picture. And also it can give so-called favorable outcomes based on what data you feed, and that's what you don't want to, and you want to keep it objective. So those are some of the things that it's an evolution. Like I said, if I had a set of metrics that were measuring some of these until yesterday, I don't have any metrics that measure this based on chain of thought algorithm that is just released today. So some of these have just need to kind of evolve as the AI landscape is evolving. But to some of the we are doing two things. We are definitely making people aware. We have some basic standards across our ecosystem where certain measurements are in place. We need to make it more institutional, I would say, so that everybody follows that method. And then we need to be aware of certain things more with privacy, like I said, in terms of prompt and prompt hacking of prompts. Basically, this traditionally means that any LLMs will have vulnerabilities, and prompt hacking is a method by which you expose the vulnerability of a LLM model, large language model. And there are, again, some of this is evolving, but prompt injection, prompt leaking, some of these are methods by which you can hack the AI model. And basically,
how does it happen? Prompt, you ask what somebody's prompting.
So you basically deceive a prompt to tell you about unintended outputs that the prompt can give you. So if you ask the prompt as to who gave you inputs or what was your training, and we should have the appropriate guardrail that the prompt doesn't leak out all the information. Again, I'm making it simple. So basically the reasoning behind a particular prompt needs to be kept in the context of it. So those are some of the vulnerabilities that can reveal information that you don't want the prompt to reveal. So if you reveal it based on, say, I took the example of privileged class and unprivileged class, if the prompt reveals that this LLM was based on this kind of training, this kind of users, this kind of inputs, then basically you're revealing something that probably is very sensitive and confidential. So that's something that is an example of that. And again, that needs to be for service providers like us. We need to moderate this. We need to have governance around this. We need to have so-called effective QA around this. So that's what I would say. So that's one thing. More importantly, like I said, I can, prompt your question or use ask AI to listen to your question and answer that. Likewise, I can create a synthetic Sujit of sorts. I can say Sujit is from Times of India, 19 years, so and so. As much of data I feed into the system, I can create a synthetic Sujit profile who gives me responses like Sujit or who asks me questions like Sujit. Now we are entering an area of where we are replicating a whole base of personas. And some of this is necessary because some of these marketing and targeting can be done with synthetic profiles. And that needs to be again, that needs to have guardrails in terms of why you would create that and how you would augment that with the real personalities as well. So that's another thing. So therefore, at the end of the day, we are just following a 3-step approach where we want everybody to learn and experiment, right? So that is, we don't want to curb that, but then we want the business to validate that, and we want legal to validate. So we have a tri-party thing, and we are always updating at least the contracts that we have and keeping it very transparent with the deliveries that we do. So the clients are aware that, okay, this is an AI deliverable or this is an AI augmented deliverable and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Sunil and Navin, both of you are AI experts from the same organization, right? One in the US, the other in India. Are there any projects where both of you have collaborated to deploy AI for clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was mentioning earlier, AIinCX is a product that we have built over the past couple of years, and then also have deployed it successfully for many clients. And that is a product that we have built, in full collaboration with our teams in the US as well as our teams in India. I think Vineet and Navin both had mentioned earlier about the talent that we have within sort of the Indian marketplace, and we are trying to basically leverage all of that talent to be able to develop these applications. So we don't really see in some ways a difference between the teams. We're operating as one team across geographies, and using all of the talent that we have to be able to build better solutions for our clients.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Navin, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to add that it's also a tri-party kind of things. I mean, you have 3 representations here. At least in the AI world, there is significant amount of collaboration. So whatever example Sunil described, and within the organization, whatever Sunil described and whatever I'm describing, is the same team, is for the same client, is for the same end goal of sort. So you can like combine or replace each other's answers. I would say that's one thing. But it is not very different than what Vineet is saying, because in the AI world, we want to leverage both. And I mean, even companies want to leverage what service providers do and vice versa. To finally, it is for the customers to benefit. So at least this is and the earlier examples that Sunil took, there is a client team working with us on very similar roadmaps and how we want to enhance the roadmap. So I would say, at least in the current world, Gen AI world, I think there is significant amount of collaboration for solutions as far as clients and service providers are concerned. Of course, everybody has their own pilots or proof of concepts that they run, but I think it's important to collaborate also. I think that setting the right tone from how solutions can come to so-called production, that would be my view.
I mean, because it's related to the question point that you were making before this. There's this question from Vishal Singh asking, I don't know whether CCI is the right organization to do it, but can CCI government regulate Gen AI in case it's inducting bias? Would this help in having a more ethical and robust AI?
No, I would say that it would follow the path. Every geography has this data privacy laws. India is also having this data privacy laws. It would slowly fall under that purview, and government is acting more proactively on some of these areas. And that will be the compliance that will be regulated. Examples that Sunil took in terms of how we can look at themes within a program, and whether the themes can be used for distribution for marketing purposes. And again, whether synthetic profiles, whether in a country like India or the United States, can be used, and to what extent then can be used, will get governed, because slowly, like I said, with the advent of O1 models and even a lot of contextual training that we do, the models will be, the outputs will be more reasoned out. The output will be, at least they will feel more real. So there needs to be some kind of governance at the end of the day, not to stop the progress, but at the same time apply guardrails to the progress, I would say.
Okay, okay. Vineet, GCCs, everybody's talking GCCs now, and there are all these huge GCCs being set up in India by all the global companies. Do you see examples of GCCs not just supporting but also leading AI initiatives that have a global impact on customer experience?
Yeah, no, I think good question, and I think I'll build on what Sunil said about talent. But I think just before that, so that one in our opinion, in my opinion, and I think everybody I talk to in the industry, this is a core capability that every organization would want to build some muscle of its own, rather than just rely, on
Outsourcing partners.
outsourcing. But not that you wouldn't collaborate and partner, with companies like Microsoft or Merkle, or whoever you kind of is your partner to on that journey. But I think it is a core capability. It is the one that would provide you the competitive edge. So I think most GCCs or organizations are building this capability internally, as we speak. Now, coming to GCCs, I think, like you said, that whole, we've moved a long distance from where GCCs were looked up as kind of a back office, to the point where today I think we are more of capability centers that we lead innovation and kind of thought leadership from the GCCs, and how we connect with the mothership or the parent organization, right? So within the AI space, there is no difference. I think most GCCs are, doing end to end. So they are, doing the thought leadership. They're driving innovation. They are the talent powerhouse. They are building solutions, right? So most GCCs are deeply involved in this evolution with the parent organization, right? See, I think Sunil touched upon, and even, I think even Navin's been talking about, see, data analytics or whether AI, they're very talent intense capability, right? And that's where I feel India's got an edge, right? The GCCs have always been the powerhouse of talent. We've got access to talent, which can easily learn more, can build these skill set as complement to what they have, whether they're data engineers or cloud engineers or, statisticians. We've always had access to rich talent, and I think we are even starting to see good AI trainings in the universities, and I think that's where the India talent play is very strong. The other unique position which I feel the GCCs have, Sujit, in my opinion, is we've always had strong capabilities in technologies like, again, data, cloud, RPA. So I think this is where we've got teams that are complementing each other and working on a problem holistically, right? See, remember, you can't just have AI sit standalone. So even if I spoke about a customer chatbot, it has to be integrated with your website. It has to be integrated with your mobile app, right? And that's where the power of the full teams come together, where we've already have strong talent which is developing mobile apps or building your websites. And I think the GCCs are able to then provide end-to-end holistic solutions which involve AI as well. And then if you extend that from, we've always also had strong operations. I think today, if you've been following the US rhetoric on elections, I think there's been a comment that most call centers are in India and people's calls are routed to India. But look at the power, right? So if you have a call center in India and you've got a team that does AI development or chatbot development, we've just got an ability to build an end-to-end solution, trial it, test it, right? So the again, the GCCs are in a unique position where they also have business operations, and now they can have teams that kind of work, collaborate, and build solutions using AI to improve business operations. So I think the GCCs are playing a huge part, across the industry to shape up the thinking, the strategy, and developing AI solutions.
Any particular project of yours that you developed out of here, which has now rolled out across Kmart, Target in Australia, and all that?
Yeah, so the customer chatbot we talk about is built here, and through our teams here. At Kmart, our analytics capability is completely led out of Bangalore, with most of the team based out of here. The head of analytics, in the roles like head of analytics and AI kind of sits in Bangalore in our GCCs here, and they provide global thought leadership and and delivery.
Cool.
Navin, help us understand a lot of advancements. We just talked about OpenAI releasing a new model. How are organizations like yours, keeping up with this? Is there a lot of upskilling of talent to keep up with all these advancements in CX, especially in customer experience?
Yes, I mean, the awareness sessions, absolutely yes. But again, this is kind of a three-part answer. So the first thing, of course, we do a lot of awareness sessions. Other than that, we do have on the projects three kinds of benefits that we'll see. One is you use virtual assistants to write code. That's one thing. You get virtual assistants or generative AI to kind of generate insights that you can fine tune and communicate back to the clients. And feature engineering, like Sunil talked about, identifying themes within a particular area, within a show or something like that. So these are three areas that we are looking to build on. So apart from the awareness session, we are looking to train people in a bunch of these areas, is what I would say. So first is awareness session, which we do by creating events, running events like promptathons. We give real use cases to people. We get them in groups or we get them in teams, and they deliver some results. So we've gamified a bunch of our trainings, which we have like a long version of the promptathon, a shorter version of the promptathon, which we have kind of trained over about 500, 800 individuals so far in a matter of 3-6 months. And this is a real use cases that is gamified. Then for these productivity thing, one other thing we are doing is, I don't know whether you caught the comment that Sunil made. We have what is called as an AI quadrant across the enterprise, which we are looking at both the customer facing AI initiatives, internal AI initiatives. Then we are looking at that's on the y-axis, and on the x-axis we look at what is called as optimization using AI and disruption using AI. So we run initiatives like this, at least in India, we run initiatives across this quadrant that everybody identifies for themselves. And we just do a quarterly review of sorts. So this is the first year we are doing it. So it has worked reasonably well. And, this will kind of build on as we kind of get to some of these mature areas. The third area is like where people are already mature, the solutions are mature, the algorithms are a lot more mature. We've gone on to build solutions and like more put them in tools or toolifying AI, as I would call it. And this overall helps. When a combination of all three helps, we look at these things during reviews, during customer visits, during visits from the US organizations, and vice versa. In fact, some of these training methods we've cross-adopted. So we've adopted certain things that we are doing in the geography, and likewise the geography has adopted certain things that we do here as a part of the Dentsu Global Services training methods, all of that. And I think it is making quick progress. I mean, in some years from now, I think some basic things like, I think nobody will write SQL code, or at least their first version of SQL code, nobody is going to write, right, for audience listening in. I think they'll all need to kind of look at what AI gives and then build on that.
So when Gen AI came in, did your AI ML engineers, what did they have to learn, unlearn and stuff?
No, this goes back further than Gen AI. So whether it is Gen AI or then machine learning in the past, and then advanced analytics in the past, and data warehousing in the past. So there is this statistical methods have been there since the 80s, and a lot of companies are using it. I think maths-based decision making has really picked up in 2000s. That's what I would say. So for practitioners, anybody who's working with the math-based delivery methods or math-based methods, like we have people on the call here. So it's just been a incremental evolution is what I would say. So we've had to kind of improve what we are calling as feature engineering from traditional models to ML models to now AI models to Gen AI models. So that's what. So that's the kind of evolution that is going on. And given that we were a data and analytics companies, we have many practitioners who've been in the so-called data and analytics field for a long time, like 15, 20, 25 years. And that helps given the background and deep rooted in like technologies like data warehousing in the as a fundamental technology.
So it's not terribly difficult for them to move when Gen AI came in and people had to do all this stuff. I mean, it's not a huge learning that they have to do.
Yeah, as long as we adopt is what I would say. I would say that everybody needs to adopt. You can't stay away from it. So that's one thing I would say. So we've done adoption in many ways apart from the training, like I said. So not everybody can, for example, after 10 or 15 years of experience, learn modeling, statistical modeling. So we've like created a factory model where we've created a workbench of sorts where a core team works on the models, and the team that is more relevant to using the models, they just use the models, and then the team that is customer facing creates use cases on top of those workbenches and uses it. So it's almost like it works like a seamless factory where people are able to use their relevant strengths and still contribute to the AI vision.
Yeah, and just to quickly add to that, I think when the Gen AI models were first released, there was a lot of excitement across the organization, right, on people really wanting to use it. And so one of the things we did is, which Navin pointed out earlier as well, is we created this environment which was privacy safe and secure, which was giving all of our developers and enthusiasts access to OpenAI's algorithms or Bedrock and all of these other platforms in a way where data was secured within that environment and was not going out anywhere. And it was compliant. Our legal team had reviewed it. And then we opened that up to all of these people that were super excited about like, hey, I want to try the latest and greatest. And that way, with trainings and enablement and creating this environment, we were able to, start the process of getting people upskilled, and that has continued over the past couple of years.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is to all three of you. One key challenge, of course, Navin, of course, had mentioned all the things about privacy and trust and all of that, but generally, to all three of you, one key challenge or threat that businesses should be mindful of as they deploy Gen AI in customer experience, and how can they overcome that particular threat or challenge? Who wants to start? Sunil, go ahead.
Okay, I can go ahead. I think what I would say is that over the past year, what we have seen our clients is a lot of our clients have deployed, variety of different POCs, right? Proof of concepts to test these things out. But then as they're looking to move those proof of concepts into production, we're seeing some challenges there, right? And so some of the challenges that we have observed are really related to, it sounds basic, but it's still important to call out, is really related to data availability. Having the right curated data in one place, integrated in a way where we can use that to feed these algorithms in a production capacity has been a challenge. And so what I would say is that a lot of clients are like very excited about doing this, but I think there's some steps they still need to think about from a data perspective and securing that data, having the right data curated across various sources that they're getting it, to be able to really get the value out of Gen AI and AI. It sounds basic, but it's something that we have seen as being a hurdle when clients are trying to move.
And how long does it take typically for an organization to overcome that?
I think it depends on like where you are in that journey. I
Mhm.
would say if it is a fairly mature organization, it shouldn't be, you know, a matter of years. It's probably a few months worth of information, worth of effort. But it just depends on where you are on that journey, on, you know, your how you've organized your data and how you're managing your data.
Okay, you have to connect all departments and functions and all of that, either create a data lake or ensure that you are able to bring in data from multiple sources and all of that. Is it?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
keep
And
out
then
all bad data, poor data, whatever.
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Totally,
Yeah, go
you
ahead,
know,
Vineet.
no, I was going to say totally second that. I think so. Just and that's what I've been saying on the call, that it's not a standalone capabilities. To scale it up, you probably need, like Sunil was saying, you need data, you need APIs, you need cloud, you need compute. So it's not a standalone capability. So I totally completely agree and second that. I think from my perspective, I would probably wield caution. I think to anyone who's getting into this space, that probably focus on benefits and quality rather than quantum. I think, see, customer experience is a very tricky space. There's very little margin between winning a customer and losing a customer, and customers do not like being tested upon and having a bad experience, right? So ensure that your solutions are well tested and you're not running a rat race to deploy premature AI model, because you will lose customers if you deploy something premature, and the customer experience actually can very quickly deteriorate versus improve.
That happened. No, that Canadian airline or something. What was the airline? Some hallucination did provide some discounts which are not supposed to be offered or something like that.
Yeah, so it can either damage your margins, or in that case, I think the pricing was off the roof, or it could be, I don't know if you've tried opening an account with a bank on through a chatbot. It just doesn't work, right? So and you won't go back to that bank again, right? You'll probably go to. So I think there's a very fine margin, and you've got to. These things are tricky. I think Navin was talking about a lot of boundary situations where you've got to test your models before you run in a rat race to start deploying these things without proper testing. That would be my caution / challenge, Sujit.
And just to add to the dimensions that Sunil and Vineet spoke about, see, and you asked this question earlier, Sujit, as to, like, how long has it been, or what's been the AI evolution of sorts. So this entire thing about, I'll build on the fact that we've been doing prediction or statistical based models for a long time. Weather forecasting, weather prediction has been there for a long time. You have customer behavior prediction for a long time, and then the last couple of decades you have other areas, like whether it is social media analysis or health monitoring or NLPs for object detection and things like that. Now, in the context of generative AI, it's created a completely new frontier of sorts where content is getting created. Like I talked about that synthetic profile. We talk about artists who are generating content and things like that. So a lot of things are getting created using AI. And that is where I think, at least if I have to call out one thing, I will say that based on all the models that that anybody uses, the response of the model or the response relevance of the model is very crucial, whether it is for service bots or chat bots or for any information retrieval system. So I would work on, solidifying metrics for response relevance. It can help for customers, it can help for age appropriateness, it can help for accuracy. So a lot of areas. So I would probably look at response relevance as the key metric.
And,
And
and how do you overcome? What are there techniques available to do ensure all of that? Is it?
yeah, I covered one in the beginning, and it is just to measure how effectively you're retrieving from the model. You can compare what questions you've asked and how the model is giving you the response, and we can figure out again some standard techniques. Like I talked about a similarity technique, and like we can evolve that. But net, I would say you should have those metrics in place and build on that.
Okay. We're almost out of time. So great possibilities that are emerging in customer experience with AI and Gen AI in particular. Already a lot of work happening, solutions being deployed. But like Sunil, Navin, and Vineet said, I mean, there are challenges, there are threats. So get your data strategy ready. test your solutions absolutely properly before you deploy it. Otherwise, you'll get your customer really annoyed. Ensure your response relevance of models. That's very, very crucial. So thanks a lot, Sunil, Vineet, Navin. Really nice having you. Hope to have you again at some other time. These, I'm sure Janaya is going to bring in some really phenomenal advances in the coming times. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more to discuss in the future. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.